What's good, everybody? It's your buddy Keith. We're back with another video. We're here to talk about a big game that's happening tonight. We got Vanderbilt, we got Texas, and I talked. What game was it? There was a game that happened this past week that we previewed. I think it was LSU. Oh, I think it was LSU in Texas. No, was it LSU in Texas? Maybe it was Michigan and UCLA, but it might have been Texas and UCLA or Texas and LSU actually. But again, this is the same kind of situation where um, there's two teams that are making a very strong case to be a one seed. If Vanderbilt is able to get a win like this, obviously the loss to South Carolina, the way that it happened, hurts. But having a win over Kentucky, over Oklahoma, over Texas, over LSU potentially, well, Texas potentially, because obviously they haven't played Texas yet. And then the rest of their schedule, they would play Georgia, they would play Kentucky again, Alabama, and Tennessee at Tennessee. So if they're able to win this game against Texas, take care of business the rest of the way out, they'd have a very good chance of getting a one seed, which going into this season, I don't think anybody foresaw happening. Um, Now, this game is big for Texas for a multitude of reasons as well. Obviously, they're fighting for a one seed, but they're also fighting for that conference regular season championship, at least a share of it. They would be LSU fans this weekend because Texas is 8-2 in the conference, Vanderbilt 9-2, LSU 8-3, Tennessee 7-2, and then South Carolina stands alone at 10-1, and their only loss coming to Oklahoma, who was 5-5 in the conference. So they won't play a part in any kind of tiebreaker being against South Carolina in that case. So it gets interesting, but to talk a little bit about the game, not just the stakes of it. The game is really interesting as well because Vanderbilt is a team that is more than capable of scoring at a high level. And I think that what they did to Oklahoma just a few days ago was a little surprising. Not gonna lie. I mean, I know Oklahoma's defense isn't phenomenal, but it was a little surprising at how easy they were getting looks and how efficient they were in that game. And for a good bit of it, they were shooting like 59% from the floor. Don't think they're going to be able to replicate that, but they may not have to. I think their defense is the key to them being able to win this game. I think if they're able to slow down Madison Booker, if they're able to not allow Rory Harmon to dictate the game on both sides of the floor, they have a really good chance to win this game. I can't wait to see Michaela Blake's and Rory Harmon match up. I think that's really fun. Obviously. And also, Aubrey Galvin and Rory Harmon is like the battle of like the smaller point guards, smaller guards. Um, don't know how often that matchup happens. I'm sure it will a good bit, but that'll be interesting to see as well. And then for Vanderbilt, Justine Passat, Sasha Washington, and Winnie Tonda. Now this is a big game for Winnie Tonda because this is her former team that she's playing, and she's playing well this season. She's averaging 7 points. 7 points, 3 rebounds. She's shooting 40. We'll round up 48% from the floor, 32% from three, and 85% from the free throw line. And I think her versatility and her size will help them in a game like this. Um, just her being able to guard different positions, guard multiple positions, guard multiple players, and obviously she has some kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Idea of the things that a lot of the players on Texas' team like to do, specifically at Madison Booker, being that she played there 3 years before coming to Vanderbilt. So I think that makes this an even more interesting matchup. I think when you look at what Vanderbilt likes to do and, getting up and down and shooting the three ball at a high level, obviously if Justine Passat can shoot over 40% from three in this game, which she's been doing all season, she's shooting 44% from three. And the game against Oklahoma, she shot I think she made 3 threes or 2 threes really, really early. So if she's able to do that again, that just opens the door up more for Michaela Blakes to be able to get open and get open looks. For Aubrey Galvin to be able to get to the paint and try to finish at the rim. And then for Sasha Washington to also be able to score off of, just cutting to the basket, hard rim runs, post touches, all kinds of different things. So this is a very interesting matchup. Again, I think for Vanderbilt, the defense is the key. For Texas, obviously the defense is always their number one thing. But I think their offense is something that can carry them in this game. I will continue to say it until Texas season is over, until Texas's season is over. Whether that's Elite Eight, Final Four, national championship win. Aaliyah Crump is the key to this team this year, or at least as the X factor. I think the key is Rory Harmon, but I think the X factor for this team is Aaliyah Crump. I just think the way that she can score and how efficiently and how easily she can score, how naturally she can score, I think just adds an entirely different element. I love Jordan Lee. I think Jordan Lee is also X factor. I've been super high on both of them. I think when both of them are playing on the court together in the future for long periods of time, they're going to be a really hard team to beat, especially with them both being able to shoot the three and score off the dribble. I think it's going to be really hard for a team to beat, and I think even this year it'll be really hard for a team to beat them because of that. And then when you throw in a player like Justice Carlton, who is also, very young, she's a sophomore just like Jordan Lee, and is coming off a big game where she just had, I think she had, 17 against Kentucky? Yeah, she had 17 points, 3 rebounds, 2 steals. She was 8 of 12 from the floor, made a 3. In the 2 games before that, she had 16 and 8 against Oklahoma. So she's had some big games. She had 17 against Auburn. So she has the ability to go out and play at a high level. I think she's played really well all season. She doesn't necessarily have to score double figures for that to be the case. But obviously that's the easiest thing to point at. But again, I think the 7 points and 1 rebound she had against LSU might have been 7 of the biggest points in the game. I think her and Aaliyah Crump completely changed the game in that second quarter and third quarter. And I think that's where, she can make her mark, is just being that player that does the little things and is able to still score and be a really good player, or be a really good offensive player at the same time. And she's really efficient. She's shooting 53% from the floor. I think that's big for her. Obviously, the thing that I always say about Madison Booker is getting to good spots, getting open shots, and then being a little bit more creative with the spots they get her to. Now, we haven't seen Vanderbilt play her, so we don't know if Vanderbilt is going to be, but when you're playing a team like a South Carolina or Oklahoma or LSU that you've played multiple times, or that you've played multiple times over the last couple of years in high-stakes situations, they know the plays that you want to run. They know the shots that you want to get from Madison Booker. Can you get her in different spots, or can you get players on the floor that allow her to still get to those spots, but those spots are more, or those shots are more open because of the players that are on the floor. Like if Aaliyah Crump and Jordan Lee are on the court at the same time, you can't leave either one of them. So, that opens the door. Another thing that Vanderbilt could struggle with is Kyla Oldacre. I think Kyla Oldacre and Bria Cunningham as well. Bria Cunningham has had some really good games. Taya Sidbury has been really good off the bench as well, and sometimes as a starter too. So I think for Texas, obviously the defense is the first thing, but I think their offense could cause enough problems for Vanderbilt for this to be a tough win, or a tough game to win for Vanderbilt. Now, granted, this is at Vandy, so that gives them a little bit of an advantage right there. But if I had to pick a team that I believe is going to win this game, I would go with Texas, just because I think they have more experience in situations in games like this, and I think they understand the magnitude of this game as well. I think they know they win this game, they have a really good chance of being a 1 seed. If they win this game, then they would play Tennessee at Tennessee. They play Arkansas, Mississippi State, Georgia, and Alabama to end the season. No disrespect to any of those teams, but those should all be wins. If they play the way that they're supposed to, those are all wins. And they go into conference. They go into the conference tournament. That would be, I guess 13-2 in the conference, and then 28-2 in the regular season. So I think they just need to continue to play the way they've been playing. I think since the South Carolina loss, they have, and I guess the LSU loss too. They lost back to back. But those games were they lost to LSU by 5, they lost to South Carolina by 3. It's not like, those games were completely out of hand or they didn't have a chance, and then they were able to bounce back and beat Oklahoma by 8, and then beat LSU by 13, and then beat Kentucky by 11 with Madison Booker not even playing well. I think she was 1 of 6 in the game. So that's another thing is like in years past, they would not have won a game, I don't believe, with a game of that magnitude at least, a game against a really good Kentucky team, with Madison Booker going 1 for 6. But when you have Justice Carlton doing what she can do, Brea Cunningham, obviously you have Rory Harmon, Jordan Lee, like you have those kinds of players that are able to step in and make plays, and you have the defense that you have, you're able to, hold front and continue to win, or continue on to win that game. Kyla Oldacre had 9 points, 6 rebounds, 3 steals, a block. Justice Carlton, again, had 17. Jordan Lee had 13. So when you have players that are, giving, good minutes and positive minutes right away in situations like that, it makes you feel really good. Obviously, you don't want Madison Booker to go 1 for 6, but, now you see, like, okay, she can go 1 for 6, and we can still hold her on. Now, obviously, you would want some players around there to play a little bit better. Like, obviously, if you're playing at South Carolina or LSU, like, you don't want Madison Booker going 1 for 6, but it's still good to see, that you're capable of winning games when your star player doesn't shoot well or that much, quite frankly. But yeah, I think both teams understand the assignment. I think both teams understand how important this game is. And again, there's a big matchup this weekend on Saturday between South Carolina and LSU. If South Carolina wins that, they essentially become the regular season SEC champions, which super impressive considering the gauntlet that is the SEC, and having just the one loss be to Oklahoma at Oklahoma, but then entering that loss with a 30-point win over Vanderbilt, and then beating Tennessee by 43, and then obviously they would end the season with, they play LSU on Saturday, they would play Alabama, Ole Miss, Missouri, and then Kentucky to end the season. So obviously still some work to be done. Can't count your horses too soon, but if I'm them, I feel really good about where we are. But if I'm Texas, I feel like there's a pretty good chance that South Carolina could drop the game to LSU. Not drop the game, but LSU could play well enough to win that game. And if that happens, then, all bets are off, I guess. I mean, they would be 1-1, but technically, they didn't count the early season game as a conference win. But I would assume that still counts as a head-to-head win. So I don't really know how that tiebreaker would play out. I guess it would just come down to just something weird, I guess. I think the last time that ended in a tie between Texas and South Carolina, they did it like a coin toss. Like whoever won the coin toss was the winner of the regular season champions or something like that, which is really weird. But again, still some basketball to be played over the next couple of weeks. But I think Vanderbilt and Texas is going to be a really good game tonight. I'm going to take Texas winning this game, but I think it's going to be really close. I think it's going to be a really good game. This is another situation where Michaela Blakes can, I don't even want to say solidify her name. Like, if Michaela Blakes goes out and has one of those performances, she may just solidify herself as the National Player of the Year. Simple as that. Like, she's only had one real struggle against a good team, and I wouldn't even say she struggled in that game because she still played pretty well. Her team just didn't, meet the moment, which that's okay. But against Oklahoma she had 34, Kentucky she had 37, Florida she had 30, Ole Miss she had 29, and then South Carolina she had 23. She was 9 of 24. She was 10 of 24 against Ole Miss. So like those are the two that you look at and like, okay, she wasn't as efficient, and they lost those games. But when you look at the performances around it, the 32 points against LSU in the game-winning shots / free throws that she made, the 35 against Oregon State, the 24. Oh, that's not. Yeah, I mean, she definitely is going to need a big home stretch just to continue to push that that narrative forward of like, against the best teams in my conference in the biggest moments of the season, this is what I'm doing. A 1-point win over Kentucky where she scores 37 points. Like, and shot 52% from the floor. She scored 34 against Oklahoma and was 56% from the floor. So she goes out and puts a 30 ball on a Texas team that's elite defensively. I can't tell you the last team. I don't know. I would have to look up the last time a player scored 30 on Texas. Um, but yeah, if she's able to do that and they get a win, she might be the National Player of the Year. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this thing goes. Make sure you guys are tuning in with the game or tapping in with the game. Make sure you guys are like, commenting, subscribing. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments, who you think is going to win. I appreciate you guys for watching.